Two things stand out to me from this episode. The first is that you may have noticed how we use Margot's heightened sense of smell throughout the Mercy Falls saga to add a certain richness and texture to the world. We have another great instance of that in this episode, and I just find it really delightful. The second is that at one point, I suggest to one of the players how they might use their strings to their advantage in the situation they're in. This is something I used to never do, believing that it was on the player to invoke the rules that could help them, and that for me to remind them as the GM was basically cheating. Nowadays, I simply don't feel that way. A game's rules and mechanics are just collaborative storytelling tools, a way for us to negotiate and arbitrate the conversation taking place at the table. If the player is sitting on something that could take the story in a really cool direction, why wouldn't I point that out? Enjoy.
You heard Big Man's voice. We still haven't seen Big Man. That's important. But you heard Big Man's voice and you were just like running, right? Are you just like wrapping a towel around your body and running, or like what's the situation there?
I mean, he grabs his clothes off, like, I think he had them like one of the benches, and just like runs out with those in his hand.
Nice.
And I think we see him coming out of the bathroom, like kind of almost falling over, trying to put on his pants.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like looking
Let's
over
run
his
away.
shoulder.
Roll volatile. Let's see how it goes.
Okay. 8.
Nice. Let's just read the move. When you run away, roll with volatile. On a 10 up, you get away to a safe place. On the 7 9, you get away, but choose one. That's my favorite. Which do you choose?
Oh man, I think this is gonna cause a scene because I'm not even dressed and I'm coming out, right?
Yeah, I'm into it. All right. Well, so you're causing a scene. You have any thoughts about how that might be? Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You're running out there naked, right? And you're clearly like kind of shocked, and presumably there are people in the hallway and stuff, right? Is it that kind of thing, or is it something even worse?
A huge part of it is definitely like I'm in the middle of a hallway and naked, and it's that like naked at school nightmare come true. Yeah. I think go out of an emergency exit that's nearby is my goal anyway.
I think as you run out, I'm gonna take the scene for a minute. As you run out and like, you got your clothes clutched in your arms, you are maybe trying to cover yourself a little bit, doing the little hop around, hunched over thing or whatever. There are a lot of people who are like kind of like shocked at first, but a couple people have the temerity to laugh, right? But other people just kind of like turn away because you're not like the kind of person that people normally like to get on their bad side, right? I'm thinking about doing. You've already got the condition, not the shit. So I think that just kind of carries through here. I'm not sure we need to go any further.
I think there are probably people who are yelling like streaker,
right? Yeah, there's like, and you look a little freaked out, and then you hear someone say, "Son, what's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost."
I stop and look who it is.
It's that FBI agent, Edward Belfontaine, and he says, "Here." He opens the fire exit door for you and like kind of ushers you outside. Steps out there with you. Do you begin to like redress yourself?
I think so.
He just like watches you as you're like putting your clothes on. He doesn't do the like, I'm embarrassed and so I'm going to turn away like people would naturally do. He just like kind of considers you while you're sitting there putting your clothes on, right? And he says, "I'm taking a little break from my investigation, and I went to the snack machine, and I was disappointed to discover that there are only sodas loaded with high fructose corn syrup, as well as a number of unhealthy snacks. I don't even begin to speculate on what is in a bag of Funyuns. I mean, we can't keep going down this road as a society, right? We have to treat our children a little better. We have to treat their bodies with a little bit more respect. Don't you think?"
Jonah finishes getting on his clothes and he looks at him as like, didn't listen to a single word he said. He's like, "You have to go in there. That guy is in there."
I think this might be a situation where you might just kind of run, given the opportunity. If you keep your cool.
An 8?
I'm going with unnoticed or underestimated. He says, "Son, you don't have anything to worry about because the FBI is here now." He puts his hand on your shoulder.
Knock his hand off, and I'm like, "You haven't been around. You have no idea what's going on."
But I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Maybe you and I should go have a talk. What do you say? I'm going to cut. Ellen, Jonah just ran out, leaving you atop the lockers.
filthy lockers. They don't clean the tops of these things.
They do
All
not,
that
no.
grime and shit is up here. The rust spots and things.
It's probably all kinds of gross shit, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
gum, like dirty jock straps, like all kinds of disgusting shit right on top of the lockers. You see someone kind of come around a corner and you can't believe you missed them the first time. This man is mostly defined by his enormity. He is wearing a pale, dusty yellow suit with a bolo tie and cowboy boots and a cowboy hat. And he's very tall and very wide. With the cowboy hat, he's over 7 feet tall, right? And nearly 4 feet wide at the shoulder, just bulk, right? Just massive bulk, but old, like really old. Eyes are really sunken in, face is very jowly and pink and littered with, veins, and wisps of thinning gray hair peeking out of the cowboy hat. He lights up a cigarette and he sits down on a bench. And it's a little unclear if he's seen you yet. How are you reacting? What are you doing?
I think she's very good at being the sort of frozen bug on the wall.
Maybe. Keep it cool.
Okay. It's a 9.
9. You're trying not to be noticed, right? Is that key? Okay. I'm going to give you the advantage of that then. He lights up his cigarette, takes a drag, and he leans back against, there's like a bank of lockers. He's on the sort of end cap of it, right? Just sort of catty corner to where the showers are. And directly across from you, you have like a good angle. You can view him head on, right? But he hasn't seen you yet. And he's kind of just there for a minute, right? Like enjoying a cigarette, takes off his cowboy hat, rubs his hands through his thinning gray hair. For a moment, there's just the hiss of the shower and him taking labored breaths as he smokes, and you being very, very still as a mouse. But at a certain point, he puts the cigarette out. His head kind of falls back. His eyes roll to the back of his head. His tongue kind of falls out of his mouth and hangs as like a little bit longer than a tongue should hang outside of his mouth. His body just begins to quiver. He's like, it's just like something is like building up inside of him and like racking his body, and he's just like shaking and quivering. He's having a seizure or something. Now what do you do?
I'm fascinated.
Indeed you are.
I might see a guy die. So I'm kind of holding position. It doesn't even occur to me to go and help. I'm just watching because that's what
I want another keep it cool.
Okay. An 8.
Holding steady. Everything's going well. He's just shaking like a noise comes out of his mouth, which is like, it's guttural. It almost sounds like another language, and it's like it's coming out of his body, but it's not his voice. And it just kind of echoes throughout the room. And then eventually he stops. And he leans forward. He's got a comb in his back pocket. It's like a comb, like in the shape of the state of Texas. He pulls it out. He runs that comb through his thin gray hair and puts his cowboy hat back on and stands up. Still hasn't noticed you. And he kind of gets the cricks out of his shoulders or whatever. Just his big, massive bulk just kind of like shifting left and right. And he says, "Well, guess it's time to get back to work." And he just leaves the locker room. Margo, where do we find you? You can frame your scene wherever you want.
Some weed from Austin. So how about out by the bleachers or something like that with him during a free period?
I think as you go to the bleachers, you actually see Chad and Austin having some kind of like argument or something. Like you're about maybe 30 paces away, and you can see Chad and Austin, like they're having it out about something. Surely it's not that $120 or whatever from Chad, right? There's something else going on. You have a connection with Chad. You've been printed on him or whatever, right? Or he's imprinted on you. You can smell it first. You can smell like fear coming off Chad. What does it smell like?
Kind of acrid, sour smell. Maybe like milk that's gone bad out in the sun and is curdled up. Kind of nasty.
Yeah. What do you do?
Well, Margo being Margo, gonna kind of march right up to them and be like, so it's my two favorite guys. Well, at least my favorite guy that has pot and Mr. Bunny here.
Chad turns and he's like, fucking hell. Like, this is exactly what I needed today.
What? Not happy to see me, Chatter?
Austin's like, oh, I'm so glad you're here, Margot. I'm really, really, really over this dude right now. And Chad's like, no, I'm over you. And then he turns and he tries to like pull you away from Austin. He's like, I gotta talk to you about something.
Margot shakes his arm off and says, I'll talk to you, but don't you go grabbing me. I'll step away with him. I look back at Austin. Just a minute.
He's got like a Mercy Falls High little like jersey on, but it's like a training jersey. It's like a half jersey so that his midriff shows, it's that kind of thing. And he's that kind of guy, right? What is the Mercy Falls High mascot, do you suppose?
Wasn't it like the Bighorns or something like that?
Oh, I think it was. It was something like that. We thought it was going to be mooses at first, but we decided to go with Bighorn, right?
Yeah, it is Bighorns. There it is on my character sheet.
So he's got the Bighorns jersey on, right? When he turns around, you can see like appliqued to the back, there's like a pair of like brown felt moose horns that go across the shoulders, right? So tacky. And he looks really freaked out though. He's like, hey, remember what we talked about last time?
You talking about your little Shadow Master problem?
Yeah. My Shadow Master problem, the one that you said you were going to help me out with, I mean, that was our agreement, right? Like I give you hot sex and you help me out with my drug problems.
Well, the sex was adequate, Chad. Yeah, you've given me so much information to go after this guy. You got something more to help me out? You got to give me something more.
He's like, I've just been getting like all these emails, man. I mean, he's like, look, and he like, and he pulls out like a series of printed out emails. Basically, like, if you don't come up with my money soon, you're a goner. I'm driving down from the city this weekend, and you're my first stop. Like all kinds of stuff like that, right? Just threats.
All right, I tell you what, Chad. Tell him you're going to meet him. But I want you to pick a spot. There's that clearing out in the woods across from the pond off the trail there where there's those park benches and stuff. Tell him you'll meet him there to give him back part of the pay, and I'll meet up with him for you.
He's like, do I actually have to show up there? Or
I don't know, big strapping young lad like you. I thought for sure you'd want to be in on this, or at least peek out from behind some bushes and watch, but you don't have to.
He's like, what are you going to do? Are you like packing heat or something? What? Like,
if you're not going to show up, you're not going to find out, Chad. That's the way it works. Now you've got plausible deniability, right? Tell me how brave you are.
He's like, no, I got this. I'm going to man up on this. And I think he starts doing like a Bighorns chant, like the football team's Bighorns chant. Bighorns, 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 woo! Makes a noise or whatever like that.
Okay, I'm going to reach out and touch him on the shoulder. I'm like,
to get himself pumped up,
Awesome testosterone display, Chad. Look, here's my cell number. Text me when you find out you're in too deep, and I'll try to help you out.
He's like, we got this. And he gives you a bro hug, that fake hug that bros do, And he kind of like heads off. Where would you go after that?
I'm going to go back over to Austin and like, what the hell is up with Chatter?
Nice. I'm going to cut back away. I'm going to cut back to Serena real quick. Get Serena's scene in here. Where do you suppose you find Tony? This could be between classes or it could be at lunch hour if you want. If that makes more sense.
Kind of imagine it's like at lunch hour. You know what it is? I bet I know where he goes sometimes to sketch at lunch when he just wants to get away. And so that's where I go.
All right, nice. Oh, I think he goes out behind the handball courts, right?
Sure. Yeah, perfect.
Basically, the only people who hang out behind the handball courts are smokers, and no one gives a shit what the smokers think. They're just degenerates who play Dungeons and Dragons all day. So he doesn't care if they see him drawing, right?
Right.
And so he goes back out there, and he's just kind of sitting like on his butt, up against the wall, like sketching out a thing or whatever. He looks really dejected. I think one of the smokers, his name is Robert.
I also think Tony has definitely drawn some people's characters for them at some point.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You bet. No, he's extolling on the historical basis of the conflict between the Githyanki and the Githzerai, and like that's going on like behind the handball courts. And Robert says, Tony, your girlfriend's here again.
And I just kind of like wave to them as I'm approaching up there. And
one of them says, she's totally got charisma 17.
As I get closer, like do that stare of, I'm going to go talk over here and you guys should like go the fuck away.
They will.
Yeah, I'll come and like sit down because I imagine like I seem like on those concrete step from like the back entrance of something. That's like where he would be sitting. I think I go like sit down next to him and just kind of sit there for a moment without talking, just waiting for a beat. And then like after a moment, I was like, "How's it going?"
He's like, "Oh hey, it's going." To clarify for the table, Jonah, you kind of warned Tony about staying away from Serena, right?
That is the thing, yeah.
Jonah, how do you think, I'm gonna give you sort of like authorial control of this. Like, how do you think Tony would react to Serena right now? Like, would he be a little hesitant to talk to Serena, or is he like, or is shit just so bad that like he doesn't even care? Like, what do you think?
So shit is certainly really bad right now. I think everyone's probably reeling from Dawn. I think he would probably talk to her, but he would probably, be a bit guarded. Yeah, exactly.
I'm into that. He says, "Oh, hey Serena. I'm thinking about everything that happened last week, and I don't know."
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shit went down. Lots of people are, dealing with it in different ways. I mean, you saw Jonah and that new kid Thomas doesn't seem to be his normal self in control. Jonah, I was just trying to make sure that you had somebody that you could talk to.
So he's being a little guarded, like in his body language and stuff, and you can sense that, right? When you say Thomas, he gives you like a knowing look, look of recognition, like, oh yeah, that fucker Thomas, right? But he doesn't go that far with it. He just kind of like,
right, yeah.
I think he kind of gives you an opening there, though, right?
When I see that look at him, I'm like, I don't know what's up with them. I don't know what's up with Thomas, but something's going on, and I don't know. I feel like we had a connection, and I just didn't want to make sure that you get left out when Jonah finds this hot new thing that he's dealing with and doesn't know how to deal with it and forgets about everybody else.
Ooh, nice. Let's look at moves. I feel like something's triggering here. Melissa, do you have any appropriate vampire moves, do you think? Feed, invited.
I got hypnotic recently. Maybe it is hypnotic.
It might be hypnotic. Yeah, I think so. I think it just depends on where you want this to go. Like, what kind of result do you want on a Tony right now?
I kind of want to just like sow seeds of discord in there, chaos of breaking up Jonah's tight little thing going on. I don't need him to like be on my side or anything, but maybe like give Jonah a little shit for leaving him alone or not helping him or doing something like that. Maybe for him to be a little bit more confident in his own ability and stand up for himself.
So you're using assume a hypnotic gaze if we're going with vampire trope, right?
Totally.
What does he see when he looks in your eyes?
I think we see it, the point of view shot, like if this were a TV show, it gets like that super macro focus on my face as I'm looking at it, and like all of the rest of the background just like goes out of focus, and all you see is my face, and maybe like there's like a color shifting palette type thing, so you can tell that it's not like monochrome, but it's just weird, maybe exaggerated colors instead of muting it as you're looking at me. And so again, if this were a TV show, you would see that change, and then maybe like you would just hear my voice is just slightly pronounced differently. It's like, just be your own man. Like, don't let Jonah's problems become your problems.
I love it. We have to see, does Tony have any strings on you, right?
Yeah, because I can't do this if he has strings on me.
He does not.
Okay, cool. All right, so I get a 10.
Nice. Let's see. Let's read the move.
So you can hypnotize people who have no strings on you. Roll with hot. On a 10 up, they do exactly what you wish and have no idea anything is wrong.
Nice. To just be real precise here, what do you want him to go do?
To be more confident and to not automatically go with like.
And you want to be the vessel of that confidence, right? Like,
I want him.
Why. Okay.
Yeah, like I kind of wanted him to see me sort of like maybe his muse or something like that when I come back to me.
Nice. I love it. He looks at you. He says, yeah. He's like, oh, fuck. Like we've all like spent so long just being like up Jonah's ass, and look what it got done. I mean, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. And now Jonah's just gonna like throw us away for Thomas. This is fucked.
I put a hand on her shoulder. I'm like, I understand. Just I want you to be happy. And so like do what you can and do what you need. And I'll be here if you need backup or help.
I'm going to pick up on Kevin's note in the chat. Jonah, you will sense the emotional change. That's your connection. He's one of your dudes, right? You sense this like resentment and inappropriate confidence in Tony, right? Just momentarily, like it's just there. You feel it. How do you react? Kind of being dragged to the chemistry room with Special Agent Belfontaine. You can't really go do anything, but just how do you feel, I guess?
I'm like looking in the direction, even I'm like looking at walls and stuff. I'm like looking in that direction, and I want to know exactly what Tony is thinking. So I'm going to gaze into the abyss.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. Let's get that roll on the table.
6.
Ah, great. I love it. We'll hold that thought. Ellen, you've just seen this really like weird, terrifying thing go on in the locker room with this cat. Where would you go? What would you do?
So that's clearly the guy who was hiding in the bathroom and freaked out Jonah. So now I know something that Jonah knows. So maybe I'm going to go and be all casual like, and so what about this yell man? So that's my thinking.
I love it. All right, good. Okay, so you may not be able to run right into Jonah because of Belfontaine, but maybe, Margot, I think I just want to like kind of summarize the thing with Austin a little bit. But basically, Chad was just trying to get Austin to give him a bunch of weed so he can like, he's trying to work out a deal with Chad to basically, with Austin to kind of like get.
Yeah, we can just do a quick summary on that, or not even bother with playing it out much.
What were your intentions with Austin besides just like scoring?
I wanted to pick up some weed from him.
Okay, all right, that's easy.
And that was all I was after.
Yeah, no, the scene led to a good thing with Chad, so I'm into it. Then maybe it might be a good chance for you and Ellen to have your little encounter maybe at that point.
Oh, yeah, especially if Ellen dishes, which she seems to like to do.
And then what about Serena, after you have your little moment with Tony, where will you be headed?
I think I'm going to start to try to like pick up other people to be on my side. So I think I've already started to get like Ben on my side. So maybe go either talk with him. I think Ellen is somebody who is easily manipulated. And so I might try to go looking for her.
All right. So, Jonah, I'm going to pick up with your missed roll. So, Mr. Thompson is technically part of your crew, right?
That's right. Yeah.
You have that emotional connection with him. You get a really, really strong sense that Mr. Thompson is about to end it in jail. He's feeling intense guilt. I think he's starting to like believe that he was somehow involved in some of the things that happened. And I think he just, just as a reminder for everybody at the table, last series we learned that Mr. Thompson basically one of the like young men that he abused like ended up having a really, really rough life, right? And he's never taken responsibility for that. In fact, he's continued his ways, right, with Jonah. I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to kill himself. How do you respond in that moment with Special Agent Belfontaine?
Yeah, I'm going to try and do whatever I can to get out of here. And I mean, it's probably unrealistic to think that I could even get to Mr. Thompson, but I'm going to try.
That's what the runaway rule is, right?
I think I'm going to lash out physically first if I have to. I mean,
because he's not like holding you or anything. He's just like saying, hey, come with me. If you want to give me the runaway, just describe what you would do like first chance you get.
I think I kind of reel a little bit, and then I like look around and I look at him, and then I'm just like, I have to go, and I try and run for the door.
Go ahead and roll volatile. See how it goes.
Is a 5.
I think you're going to run into Ellen. Ellen is like maybe coming out of the gym, and you're kind of like crossing the yard, and you're running one way. Ellen's kind of like excitedly coming another way, right? You have to cope with Ellen right now. So are you guys ready? Let's have that scene. I'm going to give Ellen a string on you as well.
Okay.
Because I feel like Ellen has seen you in a couple of like really vulnerable moments, right?
It's true. I quickly run out the door and shut it behind me and turn, and Ellen is right there.
I say, so who's the guy in yellow?
And I like I give her like a second, like that's how long I look at her, and I'm like, get out of my way, I have to go. And then I'm like looking around and like running down the hallway.
Remind you guys about string mechanics. You can spend the strings to basically control the scene with Jonah, right? And to suggest a course of action that will like force Jonah's hand to do something you want. If you have any thoughts on the scene, Lowell, that'd be a great time to spend one.
I think that probably the string I want to throw on him is not now, but I have to deal with a capital D with Ellen.
I think you should have to deal with you right the fuck now. Like, he's not going to get away from you right now. He's clearly going to something, and that's exciting to you. I think that's where it should go. I think it should go that hard.
So we're going down the hallway, and I'm like, stop following me.
Right, yeah, exactly, right.
If you answer my question, I'll stop following you.
And I'm like, I can't answer your question.
Then I guess I'm following you.
I'm running around looking for Thomas because I know he has a car.
Right.
I mean, I think I might. Yeah, I want to ask him for something I want. So I don't know if that's
With Ellen in tow.
Yeah.
And I apologize to push on the mechanics so much. I think if you want to spend the string, I think you need to spend the string to get like the fictional authority of Ellen is going to be with you no matter what right now. Like otherwise, I think Jonah will have another chance to lose you at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
I spent the string. I'm down to 2 on him.
If you choose to take it, Jonah, you get to mark XP.
Yeah, I'll take an XP. I don't have time to deal with her. I need to like do this as quickly as possible. So if she keeps up with me, then she's staying with me.
Right, good. You find Thomas at a moment where he's physically bumped into a teacher, and that's caused his books to fall out of his arms, right? Looking at this teacher, he like points at the books and he's like, pick that up. The teacher's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And Thomas is just like, pick that up.
I'm just going to run up and pick up Thomas's books.
do you just like hand the books to Thomas?
No, I think I've got them in one arm, and then I grab Thomas's hand. I'm like, come on, I need a ride.
He's like, a ride to where? Where are we going? And then he looks at Ellen. He's like, what is that?
It's called a girl.
Debatable, but.
And so like I wait till like we get kind of out of earshot, I think, and then I'm like, Mr. Thompson, he's in jail. He's not doing well. We need to gotta help him somehow.
I don't even need a roll here. He just says, I don't know what's going on with this, Mr. Thompson, but I can see that you're in need right now, Jonah. I can see that you clearly have somewhere where you need to go. What do you expect to find when you get to Mr. Thompson?
He's on the verge of like offing himself or something, and I just have to do something about it. I can't lose someone else.
And he smiles and says, don't worry.